Great evening, guys. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade. I am super excited to be here again. I don't know about you. How was your week? What did you do this week? Hope you had a great week, right? Hope you had an amazing week. For me, my week was interesting. Well, how was your week? This is the Upgrade Mastery just for you. And we basically just get to share our experience from the week, the things that stood out for us, our reviews, the things that we learned during the week that we really were excited about, and we look back and say, okay, it was a great week. Now, one of the things that I want you to know is the fact that you will never have a better yesterday. I want to take note of that. You will never have a better yesterday. So, which means no matter how your today is, tomorrow will be better. So you can never say, oh, my past was very good. My present is no good. No, no, no. You will never have a better yesterday because the path of a just is as a shining light that shines brighter and brighter onto the perfect day. So just having this mindset that you can never have a better yesterday just keeps you going, knowing that tomorrow is always going to be better. Like whatever you've seen happen for you today is the tip of the iceberg of what is possible for you tomorrow and in the future. So just having this mindset that you will never have a better yesterday, it just has a way to shift things for you mentally, knowing that no matter how interesting your yesterday was, there's something better ahead for you. So you're not going to say, oh, you wish for the good old days. People always talk about, oh, I wish for the good old days. No, you will never have a better yesterday. I want to say that with me. I will never have a better yesterday, right? Call your name, Mr. Upgrade, Dr. Osage Alex. I will never have a better yesterday. Let that sink into your consciousness, right? Because this is very important for you to know. Okay, so how are you? How are you doing? How was your week? Like, what stood out for you this week? What did you learn? What was the thing that you wish, like, wow, I learned this week? Like, what did you learn? This week was interesting for me because I put on a suit sometime this week, right? I had an engagement where I was a compare, so I had to dress for the occasion, right? It was a meetings for registry staffs and all of that. So they look a certain way. So I had to fit in to the occasion, right? And I put on a suit, and everybody has been wondering, like, because I hardly wear suits, right? I always wear natives and all of that, but I look good in anything I wear. Literally, I shared the post about the event on Instagram. My Instagram blew up. Like people have been liking, commenting, and like, okay. But just kidding, that was part of the things for my week. But how was your week? What did you do this week? What was the new thing you learned? What was the thing that stood out for you? Or if there was any challenge, how were you able to overcome it? Sometimes we don't look at the challenges you overcome, we just think that it's normal. It's not really that normal because some people go through the same and you're stuck. But you are able to overcome it. How was it for you? How were you able to pull the strings to be able to come out of the predicament? So you understand that while we do this, we get to also take reviews from our belief system session that we looked at during the week. Right? During the week, we had belief system sessions, and it's always exciting to note what we share during the week from the belief system session. Now, by the way, my eye had a little bit of inflammation last time, and I guess not many people even noticed, but struggling with it last time. So I had to see the optician, and then I got some eye drops and medication. It was a lot more better. So that's another progress for me during the week, right? So this week, the eye was a little much better for me, and I could see and I could get on with what I needed to do, right? Thank God for that. Also, guys, review for the week. Let's look at the review since some of you don't want to share how your week went. I don't know why you're thinking with your experience. It's your experience, but it can help me because I will learn from it, right? I want to learn from your experience. But if you can share right now, put in the comment. I'll come back and read those comments and I'll be glad because I want to learn from you because they say in scripture, iron sharpens iron, so every man the countenance of his friend. So learning from you is also helping me. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's get into our week. And this week we had a little bit of conversations that were really, really insightful. And we started off the week by talking about ask questions. Now we know that not a lot of people ask questions, so we felt the need to talk about it. Why it's important that you get to ask questions. And we said that instead of assumptions and jumping into conclusions, just ask questions. Now, I know you met people who jump into conclusions, you met people who assume. Instead of all of those things, why don't you just ask questions? Like it's as simple as that. Why don't you just ask questions? Why do you have to assume? Why do you have to jump into conclusion when all you needed to have just done was ask questions? So it's important that we look at this conversation. Why are people not wanting to ask questions? Why are they afraid? What's the reason behind it? It's important that you ask questions. And I started out by saying in the ancient text, Peter didn't want to assume. Peter asked Jesus, Master, we have left everything to follow you. What is our reward? And Jesus told him, everything you left, you get 100-fold in this life and the life to come, eternal life. Simple. Peter asks questions. Does this make sense? You must get comfortable asking questions. Now, 3 simple reasons to ask questions. Number one, you will seek clarity. Whenever you ask questions, get what happens? You gain clarity. It's important. You gain clarity when you ask questions, right? So asking questions is you seeking clarity. So you don't assume. So you don't jump into conclusion. You seek clarity when you ask questions, right? So, second reason to ask questions is to gain understanding. Because when you ask questions, you will gain understanding. You've heard me say this before, that whenever understanding goes missing, there will be misunderstanding. So when you ask questions, you gain understanding. So you don't have misunderstanding because understanding is missing. Did you get that? So, second reason why you should ask questions is so that you can gain understanding. Right? Thank you so much for joining, guys. I appreciate you. The third reason why you should ask questions is because you will stop assuming. See, we assume a lot. Literally, we assume a lot. People are always assuming. Don't assume. And the only way to stop assuming is to ask questions. Literally. So you see 2 people together, always working together, you assume they're in a relationship. We assume so many things a lot. Don't assume. Just ask questions. Someone is not responding the way you should, the person should respond to you. Don't assume. Just ask questions. What's wrong? Did I do something wrong? If I did, I'm sorry and I apologize. Ask questions because it will stop you from assuming. I know I've always told you that whenever you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Assume. Right? So whenever you assume, you make an ass of you and me. So don't assume. Just ask questions. So these are the 3 reasons why you should ask questions. Number 1, to seek clarity. Number 2, to gain understanding. Number 3, to stop assuming. Now, see this, guys. You will gain insights and knowledge when you just ask questions. You will gain insight and knowledge when you just ask questions. Remember this. When you fail to ask questions, you may never know what you should know. You know, many times I tell people that what you know, what you don't know, you don't know. And whenever you fail to ask questions, you may never know what you should know because you never ask questions. Just ask. It's funny how questions are more important than answers. So if you ever heard me teach, you always hear me say this: Questions are more important than answers. Now, listen to this, guys. There are no stupid questions. Repeat that after me. There are no stupid questions. They are just questions. Does that make sense? So don't say, oh, if I ask this question, it's going to sound stupid. No, there are no stupid questions. There are just questions. Now let go of the fear and have the courage to just ask questions. Let go of the fear. Just have the courage to ask questions. And you see, when you fail to ask questions, you live in the realms of assumptions. And we don't want you living in the realms of assumptions. When you fail to ask questions, that's where you live. You live in the realm of assumptions. So don't live in the realm of assumptions. Just ask questions. Right? We moved on from that conversation and we talked about audacity. I love this gist. Audacity. See, guys. Oh, I almost forgot. So during the week, I went for a training for consultants, right? It was an amazing training for consultants. And it just re-emphasized some of the things I've known and just gave me some clarity to some things again, right? And one of the things that stood out for me from the whole conversation was the need for people to have audacity. You know, the first live we did where we came on YouTube was Audacity. I don't know if you remember. The first Sunday we did live on YouTube when we moved from Instagram to come to YouTube was Audacity. Right? We had a huge following on Instagram and we felt it was time to move. And we came to YouTube. That was Audacity. Literally, that was Audacity. And we've been here. September is here. We've been here. Still pulling strong. That's Audacity. Wisdom without audacity can keep you timid, fearful, and risk averse. I'll say that again. Wisdom without audacity can keep you timid, fearful, and risk averse. You see, in the ancient text, see this, guys, in the ancient text, when Jesus came to the house of Simon the leper, a woman came in with the alabaster box. Remember that story of the woman with the alabaster? She had audacity to come there, break her alabaster, and poured it on Jesus. That was audacity. Because even the disciples of Jesus said, oh, what a waste. This alabaster could have been sold and the money given to the poor. And Jesus said the reason why he said that not because he cared for the poor, but because he used to put paper from the treasury. But the woman had audacity. And Jesus commended her audacity, saying that wherever the gospel of the kingdom is preached, her name will be mentioned for a memorial. Including today, her name is being mentioned again. Because she had the audacity to do what she did. Jesus said, she had anointed me for my burial. The poor you always have among you, but this one anointed me in view of my burial. And wherever the gospel of the kingdom is preached, it should be mentioned for her as a memorial. See this, guys. 3 simple reasons why you should have audacity. 3 simple reasons why you should have audacity. Number 1 is the mindset. Audacity is a mindset. It's how you think. And interestingly, our conversation today is think. I can't wait to get into that conversation on think because there's so much that people really need to understand that we have not been talking about. Think. 3 simple reasons for audacity. Number 1, it's a mindset. 3 simple things about audacity. Number 1 is a mindset. Number 2, it is a behavior. It's a behavior. Number 3, it is a lifestyle. Have a lifestyle of audacity. You are bold, you are audacious. You know, in Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, God told Joshua, be strong and very courageous. As I was with Moses, so I will also be with you. Only be thou strong and very courageous. In summary, God was saying, Joshua, have audacity. I could see Joshua's audacity when he told the sun to stand still. That's to tell you how much Joshua now had audacity. He commanded the sun to stand still because he was still in battle. The reason what is about audacity: number one, it's a mindset. Number two, it's a behavior. Number three, it's a lifestyle. See, even the good book says the righteous is as bold as a lion, meaning the righteous has audacity. Righteous has audacity. Nothing will change for you if you lack audacity. And I'll tell you for free, nothing will change for you if you lack audacity. That is it. Nothing will change. If you lack audacity, nothing will change. See, audacity won't mean no fears, but you do what must be done regardless of the fears. So audacity will mean that you won't have fears. You will have fears. But because you have audacity, you will do what must be done. You will do what must be done regardless of the fears. See these guys. The one who is unstoppable is the one who has his identity characterized by audacity. Did you get that? The one who's unstoppable is the one who has his identity characterized by audacity. And remember this: doors are waiting to open to you, but you just need to have the audacity to knock on them. Doors are waiting to open onto you, but you need to have the audacity to knock on those doors. You need to have the audacity to knock on those doors. So move on from that conversation on audacity, and we talked about the dangers of having a good heart. Now, this was a very practical situation, right? You see, I'm a person of a good heart. I have a good heart. I know. There are things you know about yourself, and you know, yes, I know this. You know this like you know your name. I have a good heart. But then I also realized there are the dangers of having a good heart. And that led me to talking about it during the week, because I felt like people need to know about this, especially those of us who have good hearts. We need to know that there's the danger of having a good heart. And I said here that the dangers of having a good heart leave you disrespected, taken for granted, and abused and misused. The dangers of having a good heart. It leaves you disrespected, taken for granted, abused, and misused. That's the danger of having a good heart. You see, in the ancient text, we are encouraged to forgive, right? All you need to say when you mess up is "I'm sorry," and that's it for them. People have a good heart. They will accept, they will move on, and they will give you another shot. But this becomes a problem when the toxic person knows that they can do whatever, and anyone with a good heart will always welcome them back with open arms. See, they're taking advantage. They're taking you for granted, right? There are people who don't deserve even 2 chances to burn you, right? These people don't deserve 2 chances to burn you. Then you go and give them more chances. You give them 10 chances only to get hurt every single time. See, they will pour their hearts out to people who don't deserve their love. That's the danger of having a good heart, right? The ability to love deeply knows no bound. They just never run out of love to give people. And the truth is, no matter how many times they get hurt by someone, they don't hold on to the pain. They let it go carelessly and easily. Now, these are the dangers of having a good heart, right? Now, 3 dangers of having a good heart. Number 1, you will not be valued, honored, and respected. Yes, when you have a good heart, many times you will not be valued, You will not be honored and respected. Number two, you will be taken for granted and disregarded. When you have a good heart, yes, they will do that to you. They will take you for granted, they will disregard you. Number three, you will not spot hypocrites soon enough when you have a good heart. You won't see the hypocrites around you because you have a good heart. But know this, guys. The problem today is that people don't cherish good people. And that is one of the dangers of having a good heart. People don't cherish good people, you rubbish them. See, it's funny how people are in awe of those who are wicked and don't give a damn about them. Just funny. Unfortunately, good hearted people are actually the ones going through the most from people they least expect. They go through the most from the people they least expect. Good hearted people. They suffer. Literally, they suffer in the hands of people they least expect to suffer from. The dangers of having a good heart. See, the most dangerous anger is built inside someone with a good heart. The most dangerous anger is built inside someone with a good heart. And notice this, good-hearted people forgive too quickly and too often. They give you second, third, and fourth chances and can easily end up staying in unhealthy relationships way too long. That's the danger of having a good heart. And I need people to reconsider sometimes because it's not always interesting for you to be taken for granted. Jesus was taken for granted. He didn't go back to his hometown, he left them. He went elsewhere preaching. He left them in Nazareth because they didn't regard him. That's why I said the prophet is honored anywhere except in his own hometown. So he left them. And this conversation just helped us to move into another conversation during the week, which was quite interesting. And that conversation was tough decisions. See, guys, whether you like it or not, one of the perks of having self-leadership is that you must make tough decisions. I know you want to be the Mr. Nice Guy in quote to everybody, but there comes a time where you need to make tough decisions. And that's where our conversation began. We talked about tough decisions. And we said tough decisions will make you feel like you are wicked, but you are actually not. Yeah. When you make tough decisions, it will make it look like you are wicked, but you are actually not wicked. You see, in the ancient text, there was a king of Moab who realized that he was losing the battle, that he could not break through with his men at the battle. Guess what he did? His first son, the heir to the throne, he got him and offered him up as a sacrifice. And when he did that, God just said, nah, this is okay. No need. Let's not continue this fight with these guys anymore. Literally, Israel pulled back from that war when they saw what the king did. What does that let us know? That is a simple example of tough decision. A king on a good day would do anything to preserve his heir, right? He will preserve the heir to the throne. You see something when kings are fighting, they will send somebody to take their child and run away, who's the heir to the throne. So even if they die, they can still sustain their dynasty and their legacy. But this king made a tough decision and sacrificed his first son. And then the war ended. See, it is never easy making a tough decision, knowing fully well that the outcome may not always be pleasant. You know, sometimes when we make some tough decisions, we feel like, oh, the outcome is going to be pleasant, so that's why we make them. Sometimes making tough decisions does not mean that the outcome of that tough decision is going to be pleasant. Now, I went further to explain something during the week, and I said this, that you'll be forced to make tough decisions. And when such time comes, don't hesitate. Yes, you'll be faced to make tough decisions in your life, in your journey. When those times come, don't hesitate. You see, it is funny how tough decisions you fail to make immediately, you will end up making them eventually. Are you understanding this? There are tough decisions you should have made immediately, but because you didn't make them immediately, over time, you will end up making them eventually. So I said that the tough decisions you fail to take immediately, you end up taking eventually. And see, tough decisions do not necessarily have to be a life and death situation, but they are everyday situations that affect your life. So tough decision is not a everyday, it's not necessarily a life and death situation, but these are everyday situations that affect your life. You must make tough decisions. And you must make tough decisions from the standpoint that you have nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to defend, and nothing to protect. From that standpoint, you make your tough decision. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to defend. I have nothing to protect. And see these guys. Sometimes cutting people off should not even be considered a tough decision, especially when they handed you the scissors by their character. Is this making sense? You should do them the honors and cut them off because their behavior is the best explanation. See these guys. May your biggest regret not come from tough decisions you could have made but didn't make. Now, we said there are three simple reasons, three simple things about tough decisions. Number one, they don't make you feel good at the time of making them. They don't make you feel good. Nobody makes a tough decision and feel good. You feel a certain way. They don't ever make you feel good when you make tough decisions. I had to make some tough decisions this week. They don't make you feel good when you make some tough decisions. Number two, they make you seem irrational and difficult. When you make some tough decisions, they make you seem irrational and difficult. And number three, they are the proof that things must change. If you really want things to change, get ready to make tough decisions. That's the truth. Things won't change if you don't make tough decisions. And you see, tough decisions will always make you wish there was another way, but there is none. Does that ring a bell? I wish there was another way. Yes, that's the truth. Tough decision will always make you wish there was another way, but there is none. There is none. See, sometimes you have to look away from the consequences of your tough decisions. You have to look away. It's tough. You have to look away from the consequences of your tough decision. You see, if you refuse to make tough decisions, life will make tough decisions for you. Listen to that again. If you refuse to make tough decisions, life would make tough decisions for you. And I don't think you want life to make tough decisions for you. You cannot correct the course of your life if you keep refusing to make certain tough decisions from time to time. You just cannot correct the course of your life if you refuse to make certain tough decisions from time to time. And remember this, Tough decisions are subjective. What may seem tough for one may be easy for another. The tough decision is not cast in stone. No, no, they are subjective. What may seem a tough decision for one may be a walk in the park for another. But regardless, it's a tough decision nonetheless. Does this make sense? Right? And then we went on to the last part of the week where we talked about think. Right? We talked about think. And that's where our conversation is going to be built around today. Think. Right? We started out by saying that the basic fundamental use of the human brain and mind is to think. But unfortunately, some people just don't think. Like literally, the basic fundamental use of your brain and your mind is to think. But unfortunately, some people just don't think. See, in a world today, comprehension is becoming difficult by the day. Some people have just resolved not to think. Like we talk about head mentality, it is hardening to people who follow the crowd to think for them because they themselves don't think. Sometimes when I observe how people behave, the first question that always comes to mind is, don't these people think? Like there are certain things you just may not do if you think. And if you reason, you do certain things is because you don't think. In all honesty, and I guess this is why some people don't think. Because thinking is hard work. Literally. Thinking is hard work. That's why people don't think. It's hard. It's hard to think. And I was saying this jokingly to someone, and I said, people have not even taken out time to think. We are telling them to do critical thinking. Is it not people that can think first that should now be able to do critical thinking? People cannot even think basic, they can't even think. Yet you expect those same people to do critical thinking. There's the thinking first before it gets to critical thinking. People have not even done the basic thinking. They don't think. You see how people behave sometimes? It just lets you know that people don't think. Because if they think, they won't behave that way. Do the hard work to think and enjoy the easy life that comes from the result of how you think. And people say, oh, school makes people not think. Right? Because school just puts you into a curriculum, puts you into a straight jacket, what you need to do and all of that. So you don't allow people to think. See these guys. They say you should think outside of the box. Some others say think like there's no box. The point we are not even asking that people don't even think, whether it's in the box or outside the box or no box, people don't even think. That's the main issue. That is the crux of the matter. People don't even think, let alone outside the box or like there is no box. But people don't even think. And that's where the real problem lies. See, in the ancient text, the woman caught in the very act of adultery, and they brought her to Jesus. See these guys. The people who caught her brought her, carrying stones, intending to stone her to death, because according to them, in the laws of Moses, anyone caught in such an act should be stoned to death. Now, the first thing they should have known if they used to think is that one person cannot be caught in the very act. You can't have adultery with yourself. Are you getting it? You can't have adultery with yourself. So one person cannot be caught in the very act. The next thing to think of was it was easy to accuse the woman because she was caught. right? They say in local parlance, now they catch me thief. Did you get that? For those of you who are non-Nigerians, the person who's caught is the one who's the thief. See this guy. Now who they catch, now be thief. Why? Because this woman right now, she has been caught. So she look like she's now the one that's been accused because she was caught. So, and finally, they too were also guilty as the woman caught. So you see, when Jesus didn't jump into conclusion because he was thinking, and then he asked them a question. You see, when you think, you have questions that will make people think. Deep. Yeah, that's deep, that's deep, that's deep. When you think, you ask questions that will make people think. Jesus looked at them and said, he that is without sin, cast the first stone. Suddenly they now realize that they too are not as innocent as they portrayed. And scripture says, from the greatest to the least, they dropped their stones and walked away. I know anytime I always talk about this story, I always picture a woman because she was on the ground, right, sobbing, and she was in tears and already ashamed of everything happening. So when she started hearing the stones drop on the floor, she probably was thinking, I'm hearing stones drop, but I'm not feeling anything on my body. Am I already dead? What's happening? And then she didn't hear the stones drop anymore. I guess she probably just felt, okay, am I at the pearly gates yet? Where am I? And then she heard Jesus talk to her and say, woman, and for the first time she lifted up her head. And Jesus said, where are the accusers? And she looked around. Everyone was gone. And she said, there's no one, Lord. And Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. See this, guys. See this. It's important that you understand how just the question that Jesus asked them got them to think, and then they could now do what was right. See, responses to situations are always different when people think. That's the truth. You respond better to situations when you first think about the situation. See, your response to the situation will always reveal if you think or you don't think. Your response. And those who think never jump into conclusion or make hasty generalization. See, just as you process data into information, right? A data you can't process is not useful. So when you don't think things through, you have skipped a vital process. To think is to process things with your brain and your mind to arrive at a possible and viable solution. Being reactive and rash is a sign that you don't think, right? Because when you think, you'll be calm and calculated with your response. You'll be mindful, you'll be demure with your response when you think. And you see, simply put, the one who thinks would respond, and the one who does not think would react. So when I see you react, I know that you don't think. When I see you respond, I know that you think. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. And you see, and now you see why I encourage people to please think. To please think so that they can check themselves before they wreck themselves. When you don't think, you will sink when you can swim. Does that make sense? You know, they say that when you want to save someone who's drowning, you don't go into the water and try to save the person. You allow the person actually drown so the person can be floating before you go in and save the person. Because if you go in when the person is still battling to save himself, he will drown both you and himself. But when you don't think, you will just jump in or you want to go and save the person. So the truth is, when you don't think, you will sink when you can swim. And when you don't think, your life will stink. 3 simple reasons why you must think. Number 1 is the best use of your brain and your mind. That's why you must think. It's the best use of your brain and your mind. Number 2, it is the proof that you have comprehension and wisdom. That's it. Number 3, it helps you to arrive at solutions when you think. Now, understand this. See, many times what people say is the proof of whether they think or they don't think. What people say is the proof of whether they think or they don't think. And you see, when you don't think, you will not only stink, but you'll be useless to yourself and to others because you don't think. Now remember this, some people are just too lazy to think. To think literally is hard work. Some people are too lazy to think. And to think is hard work. Remember this. It's interesting to see some people don't even do the basic to think. But how can they arrive at critical thinking? People who can't even do the basic to think, how can they arrive at critical thinking? How? The basic is to think. They can't even think. And then you expect them to arrive at critical thinking? Impossible. It's just impossible. And it's funny how sink or swim comes down to how you think. Just funny. Think or swim comes down to how you think. Guys, this was all the belief system that we shared during the week, and we believe that this has helped you in your journey, in your upgrade journey. This has helped you. All that we have shared this week has in one way contributed to your growth and to your development, right? Now let's get into the gist proper, which is think, right? Think, think, right? Let's get into think. Are you ready? Let's get into think. Wow, this is amazing. Really amazing. Are you ready for think? Let me know that you're ready in the comment section. Right? Let me know you're ready for think so we can think. Okay, so let's talk about think. 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 See this, guys. Quite interestingly. The T in think is time. And because we live in a very fast-paced world, people no longer even have the time to think. Now, if you take your mind back, the people who did most of the inventions, they got some of those ideas while they were thinking. And while they were thinking, they were investing time ruminating on the idea, brooding on the idea, and then you have that light bulb moment. Because thinking involves time. And time is one of the things that people waste today. People waste time. Literally, people waste time today. They use their time for things they should not be using their time for. Why? Because they don't think. If you will think, trust me, time will be involved. You must take out time. You know, one of the things I tell people, especially when I do coaching and consulting, is I tell people to hold one particular idea in their mind all through the day. Just hold one particular thought, hold one particular idea in your mind all through the day. You see, the more you hold that particular one thought in your mind, the more you get things around that particular thought or idea. So think takes time, but yet people are too distracted with their time. They're too distracted, so they can't think. They're everywhere. They are behaving like people who have a gabagebe spirit. They're everywhere. Rolling 360 like Baba chair. They're everywhere. So they can't really spend time to think. Think begins with time. See, you want to get better at anything, you have to spend time thinking on that thing. As you start to think on that thing, as you spend time, you start to see other things you probably never saw before. The T in think is time. It takes time to really think on something. You see, when they caught the woman in the very act and they brought her to Jesus, Jesus was writing on the floor. He didn't say anything. He didn't even look at them. He just continued. His head was already bowed down before, and he was writing. And he kept on writing. He never looked at the people. They were all railing and saying, "Oh, this woman was caught in the very act. The law of Moses said that she must be stoned to death. What do you say?" They were saying all of those things. Jesus wasn't moved. He was just in that process to think. He was taking his time. And then when he eventually lifted up his head, he just said, "He that is without sin, be the one to cast the first stone." And I told you earlier, when you think, the kind of questions you ask will get other people to think. Is this making sense? When you think, the kind of questions that you would ask will get people to think. And then they thought about it and realized that, of a truth, they too are not even innocent. They are as guilty as the woman that they caught in the very act. They are not innocent. And then they all dropped their stones and walked away. If you must think, you must put time. You must put time. Time is a very critical factor when you think. It is sometimes when I want to do some things, I spend time just brooding on those ideas, like, okay, I'm going to do this plan, I'm going to do this plan. I just spend time brooding upon it, and before you know it, ideas just start to come in my head, and then I'm writing them down. Simple as that. If you think I'm joking, practice it. Just take one particular thing that has been bothering you and spend the next 3 hours on that. Give yourself time. The H in think is humble. Humble. If you're thinking, you have to be humble. You have to be humble. You can't have pride when you think. You can't have arrogance when you think. No, you have to be humble. Because sometimes you are going to be humble to learn from people who are even below you. Because when I teach brainstorming sessions, I tell people that there are no stupid ideas. Bring all the ideas together. In fact, some good ideas are formed out of two seemingly stupid ideas. So there are no stupid ideas. And it takes humility for you to take two ideas together, even though they're not coming from you, to arrive at the solution that you need. That's because you think. So you are humble. The one who thinks is humble. He's not proud and braggadocious. No, he's humble. The one who thinks is not raising shoulder. No. He's not Bulgarian. No, he's humble. He's humble. So the H in think He said, you must be humble. Bring yourself down. Bring yourself down. You're not losing your steez because you are humble. No. In fact, you are gaining more steez because you are humble. Because scripture says that God resists the proud, but he gives more grace to the humble. That's more steez. That's more steez for you when you are humble. And when you think, it's from the place of you being humble to learn, to be instructed, to be inspired. That's you being humble, knowing that you don't know it all. That's you being humble. That's you being humble. To think. The H in think is humble. The I in think is intentional. See, guys, thinking is not random or haphazard. It is intentional. Are you listening to me? Think is intentional. So you take a topic, you take an idea, you take something, one thing, intentional, and think through it. Thinking is intentional. See, before I get to Friday, all through the week, I keep coming around ideas that's bouncing off my head, and I'm intentional about what I would share on Friday. Now, we've been doing these lives now for a couple of years, more than a couple of years, since way back, even before the pandemic. First, we were on Facebook, right? And then we moved to Instagram, and now we're on YouTube. Like, we used to be on Facebook, and then we moved to Instagram. We're on Instagram Lives, and then we moved now to YouTube. We just joined YouTube this year, January 5th, right? All through this process, every Friday I've been doing lives now for over the past 6 or 7 years. I have not repeated the same conversation. I'm not trying to brag. I have not repeated the same conversation. There's always something new, always something different, always something fresh. Why? Because I realized that the path of a just is as a shining light that shines brighter and brighter onto the perfect day. So it's always best to have, I told you earlier when we started, there's never going to be a better yesterday for you. It keeps getting better every day. So there's never going to be a better yesterday for you. But why am I saying all of this? To let you know that I'm intentional to deliver value to you every single Friday. And we've been doing this Friday live now for years. For years. When you think is intentional. In fact, I had some situations that happened during the week, and it just dawned on me that people don't think. So that's why I'm stressing this think conversation. So when I encounter people like that next time, I will send them the link to this video so they go and watch and see what they are doing to themselves because they don't think. Because to think is intentional. It's intentional. It's intentional. We take a particular subject, we take a particular area, take a particular field, take a particular idea, and you brood on it till you get the desired solution you need from it. It's intentional. The N in think is necessity. The truth is this is of necessity that you think. You have no idea the damage you do to yourself when you don't think. See, I know we are used to following the head mentality. We are following, doing what everybody else is doing. We are joining the crowd, jumping on the bandwagon. See this, guys. See this. It's of necessity that you think. Everybody is doing the wrong thing does not make it right. You need to think. You see in local balance, use your HQ. Use your HQ. You need to think. Everybody is going one way doesn't mean it's the right way. You need to think. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Because thinking is of necessity that you think. The end in think is necessity. Is of necessity that you think. You know, Paul said in scripture, necessity is laid on me. What is that if I preach not the gospel? He had necessity to preach. You have the necessity to think about your life, think about your journey, think about your growth. You have the necessity to think. You have the necessity to think. Don't assume. Assume. Think. It is making sense. Think. The end in think is necessity. Necessity is laid on you to think. Paul said, Philippians 4, verse 8, he reminds us and says that if there be any virtue, there be any praise, think on these things. Think on these things. Like you need to see how it is of necessity that you think. Like literally, it's of necessity that you think. So it's not an option, it's a necessity. It's not something you do once in a lifetime. No, no, no. It's of necessity. You do it consistently and repeatedly. So you think. Remember, I told you earlier that if you don't think, situations where you should swim, you end up to sink because you did not think. That's how of necessity it is for you to think. In cases where you should swim, you would think because you did not think. If only you just think. There are some mistakes you will not be making. If only you just think. There are tough decisions that will be easy for you to make if only you just think. If only you just think there are some behaviors you have to let go. If only you just think. If only you just think there are some people you need to cut off from. If only you think. If only you think. It's of necessity that you think, guys. Of necessity that you think. It's of necessity. Think. What is finally my burden? Whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things of good report, whatsoever things are of praise. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Think, think, think. It's of necessity that you think. And the K in think is know. Because as you think, guess what? You get to know. You say it is the, let me paraphrase. God conceals the matter. It is the wisdom of kings to search it out. Some of the ways you search out a matter is that you think. Because as you think, you get to know. No wonder in the formal anthem of Nigeria, one of the lines says, help our youth the truth to know. Help our youth the truth. Truth. When the youth think, they get to know truth. So as you think, you get to know. Those are new ideas that pop up in your mind. It's because you think, you now know. You now know. Guys, this is what think is about. THINK. Time, Humble, intentional, necessity to know. That's think. And like I told you earlier, if you don't think, your life will stink. What do you do? Will you think or would you stink? You know, in the case of the prodigal son, scripture says in Luke 15, verse 17, and he came to himself. At that point, he started to think that even the servants in my father's house have enough to eat and to spare. See what thinking does for you. It helps you to make wise decisions, even if you may have made foolish decisions before. When you now start to think, you now start to make wise decisions. Nobody advising. When you think, you will now know. Are you getting it? When you think, you will now know. So he came to himself and said, the servants in my father's house, they are ballers. Why am I here suffering? Why am I here suffering? At this point, it took time, humbled himself, was intentional to look at his situation. And then he saw the necessity for him to think so. And then he got to know that the servants in my father's house, they have enough to eat and to spare. And I am here lavishing in hunger. I would arise and go back to my father. And you know how that story goes. He went back, was accepted, welcome back, reinstated. And a lavish party was thrown in his honor because he think. If you don't want your life to stink, it is time that you think. It's time to think. Like I said, thinking is hard work. But it's a hard work worth doing all the time. It's hard work that is worth doing. So think. Think. You'll be proud of the outcomes of your life when you think. You will literally be proud of the outcomes of your life when you think. So, guys, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Or you are still thinking? If you have any question you want to ask, this is the best time for you to ask those questions. But if you don't have questions, it's also fine because it makes me feel like you've gotten into the zone where you now start to think. That's the zone I want you to be, in a zone where you think. Guys, thank you so much for being with us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade. We do this every Fridays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. and basically just get to share our experiences from the week and learn a thing or two, like we've done today. We shared the experience of the week, we shared our belief system sessions, and then spoke to us about think, and we've seen the importance and why we should think. Guys, I know this has been watching a while. What will even make it much more worthwhile is that you share this with your friends, your families, and your loved ones. You have no idea what you are doing for them simply by sharing this with them. This will just make them go back and think. And the scripture says, Paul plants, Apollos waters, is God that gives the increase. 1 Corinthians 3, verse 6. So I encourage you, share with your friends, share with everyone, share far and wide. People need to hear this, and you will be the agent to share this with them. So guys, thank you so very much for watching. Like you always know, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. So we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.